presentation will start. It's quite challenging speaking after Big Moma. It's a fantastic presentation. Можно презентацию? So, Moscow Museum of Modern Art opened in 1999. The unique thing about the Moscow Museum of Modern Art was that it was a private initiative. Its founder, artist Vasili Tsereteli, which happens to be my grandfather, he was also a collector, and there were many debates on opening a museum of modern art previously to the opening of the museum, specifically in 1999. But there was no actually funding for it, or there was no specific political or at that time any kind of basis for it. So he purchased a building which he donated to the city of Moscow, and city of Moscow and Department of Culture started funding it, fully funding it. So that's the uniqueness of our museum, with a contributing collection of about 1,000 works of art, which spanned from beginning of 20th century, focusing on some of it avant-garde 60s artists and drawings from 1920s. That became the basis of the museum. The museum from the beginning as a strategy was collaborating and tried to collaborate with different institutions. Actually, one of the first exhibitions was where we borrowed works from other institutions. And at first we started doing typical exhibitions of permanent collection, focusing on chronological retrospective approach. Later on, as museum progressed, we found that the better approach for us was to work with different curators, have a separate side to focusing on the collection, and apart from that, focus on different exhibitions where the collection would be a part being collected, and the exhibitions of itself would happen gradually with it. And in beginning, when the museum opened, we had very few visitors, and now we are close to 350,000 visitors last year. So it has been progressive, and it's quite successful for us. The exhibition policy that we chose, where we choose different curator and different approach, and we really try to focus on our public, how to educate and focus on different aspects of educational approach. And so for each exhibition, actually that's one of the exhibitions of graffiti artist Pasha 183, which is on view now in one of our locations. For us, it's important that the museum is a communication hub. It's a democratic space that basically shares all the visions, and it works with what's outside of us right now, not only focuses on the permanent collection, but basically brings in and is in the center of everything that is around. And whatever great ideas other curators have or other specialists, we are in a center as a research center, and try to accommodate other specialists who need to use the collection or we can contribute to the process of conservation or showing or research. Here we have we decentralized basically our system gradually as the museum evolved. We equally were fortunate enough that we got more donations to our museum, and we acquired 3 more buildings. So we have now 4 buildings in a city center. It's in one way an advantage to the museum, where one building is focused solely on interpretation of the permanent collection, and the other buildings are focused on temporary exhibitions, where each exhibition space is devoted directly, especially site-specifically for each exhibition that will happen there. So each personal show of Russian artists or international art that is shown in that specific space becomes a total installation. It's already based on the space of the institution. That's where we choose different. That's the map of all our locations. And our collection right now is about 10,000 works of art, where the beginning of it was from the beginning of 20th century with Russian avant-garde and early works. But then we have a strong points in the collection, which is, for example, naive art, where it's art of Pirosmani and other naive artists, works from 1920s, drawings. And this year we'll have a big show of Vasili Tsereteli, which the work is shown on the right-hand side. Right now, the focal point of the museum is mostly collecting contemporary Russian art after the 1990s. So, because of good contribution of the Department of Culture, which allows us to purchase works, we have acquisitions committee and expert committee in the Department of Culture, which allows us to quite extensively and aggressively purchase the works that are works that need to be held in a collection, because most of problems with, so to speak, with museums in Russia, lack of funding. Many of contemporary works or works of 50s, or they have mostly been shown outside of Russia and haven't appeared in the collections of the museums. I mean, there's great collection in Tretyakoff Gallery, but contemporary art wasn't purchased as actively. So we are trying to, while it's still available, we acquire and grow our collection, and then invite different artists. Here are some examples from our collection. And one of the things that we started doing, as I said before, is choosing each different curator to look and different subject matter to look at our collection in different perspective, and focus on the building, on the theme, and already depending on, since our collection is more than 10,000 works of art and different periods, have thematic combination of those, and allow each curator to do his own version of the curating on this theme. And one of the first expositions in this we opened in 2009 was Etude of Art Object, which focused on a classical background of Russian academic schools as a basis, and how that school transmitted in today's time, and how all different elements have played with that aspect. It was interesting attempt of the show, but it wasn't quite successful with the critics. The show that really was one of our very successful shows was Door Opens Day, where we invited Russian great architect Yuri Avakumov and an artist who looked at the history of the building, and we showed our contemporary art collection and won Innovation Prize. And then we had different shows that focused on younger crowd. So each show that you see here in the presentation, we try to collaborate with different architects, different themes, different, and go beyond the boundaries, what is, so to speak, taboo, or what is each time push out of what is used to perceive of the museum. This is a view of Doors Open Day, where we actually took down the doors from the building, showing openness, and it was that's one of our latest shows, curated. So one of the programs of the museum is we are always working with and try to work with different curators, as well as have our curatorial department, due to that combination of sometimes working with different curators, sometimes doing other projects, really evolve and focus, so we alternate. And this particular show was curated by our own curator team, by Andrei Gorov and Anya Artunyan. It's a very successful show, focused, and it was the first show which collaborated with different, we can say first contemporary show which collaborated with different museums out of scope of contemporary or museum. So we collaborated with the Museum of Science and Photography, and collaborated with many institutions that are not normally used in contemporary art. This is a view of other projects that we do with different on different themes. We also are quite active in the internet and are always finding feedback from the what public is basically thinking of us and how they perceive. It's very interesting how to understand how the public really understands contemporary art and what is for them very interesting. So we did this when there were elections about to happen in Russia. We did this kind of very popular thing. We did choose your own artwork. So people actually went on the website and from our collection were able to select a piece of artwork, and the one that got most votes was introduced in an exhibition. So that's some of our. So basically, sorry, some are shows that we do. We try to do mostly Russian art shows, but do also collaborate with other institutions, other museums, and go beyond something that is our walls. And here you have a slide where it shows the Belief show where we collaborated with Vinzavod and Alek Kulik. So we do produce shows outside of museum, outside of our space. And the show on the left was in Venice Biennial, opened this previous, which focused on the history of Russian art. Museum as well has a research department which focuses on the research and conservation for educational programs derived on studies of a curator, younger kids, drawings, and artists who have already had classical education and need to move into more conceptual. So that we have a school that works with that, and based on that experience over 15 years, together with the National Center of Contemporary Art, the programs that they had exhibition every year and educational programs, to идет, and we had Мастерская, which is studio, and that evolved into Young Art Biennale, which will be happening this year in Museum of Moscow, and David Elliott is a curator. It's a biennale that focuses on young art under 35, and that's one of the programs we are very intensively working on, bringing up younger, working with young artists. So museum is doesn't know what will happen tomorrow, but we are open-minded and we are trying to, grasp into whatever is happening around and be in the center of that all, and collaborate with all the other great institutions in Moscow, like Garage and many other institutions that are, and be part of everything that is happening in Moscow, and hoping for more new interesting projects and successful collaboration. So thank you.